President Trump says he expects to meet with President Xi at the G20. Threats of tariffs brought Mexico to the table. Can threats against China have the same effect? The China Learning Curve author Dan Joseph says the U.S. has the economic advantage. Dan, that may well be, but does Mexico need us more than China does?
I would say they probably do. I mean, it's a closer economic relationship. We are a larger percentage of of Mexico's exports than China. So from that point of view, I would say we definitely have more leverage over Mexico. But it's kind of an apples and orange comparison. We had already reached a deal with Mexico. They were just trying to get over this immigration hurdle, and there's much more to be done to reach a deal. I think with China, it's a much more complicated situation.
Well, and one thing that's making it really complicated is President Xi and what his political ambitions are. I mean, you look at what he's doing in Hong Kong. The Chinese need Hong Kong as a clearinghouse for all of the financial deals that are made within China. They've been using that relationship with Hong Kong. They essentially own it, but they've been using that relationship very carefully. Now they're bringing down the iron fist. It just shows Xi's determination to go back to that dictatorship period that maybe it's short of Mao Zedong, but not that short.
Well, that's really the most interesting question in all of this. The fact of the matter is, what Donald Trump is asking for is what China needs, which is more reform. The reason we're even talking about China is the tremendous economic liberalization that has occurred since 1980, which caused such a tremendous increase in their economy. The problem is about 10, 12, maybe 15 years ago, reform slowed, just about ground to a halt. That's why China's growth is slowing. That's why debt in China has increased from about 120% of GDP maybe 10 years ago to about 300% of GDP. So even before Trump came along, the big question was President Xi serious about continuing economic reforms? Even with this prodding by Donald Trump, he hasn't latched on to that idea yet. So what he's doing in Hong Kong might be further evidence that really he prefers the hardline position.
Well, because he is reverting, some people say, I know Gordon Chang just said this, that he's reverting that cult of personality that they had during the Mao Zedong era, and maybe he cares more about that than he does about any economic progress that they could make with a China deal.
You know, that's possible. No one can answer that question with any clarity right now. China has plenty of motivation to do a deal with the United States. Short term, it will help put the wind back in the sails of the economy. Long term, they need to continue that reform program to get their debt situation under control, to continue to grow, to become more of a technology and service-oriented economy. So what's holding them back? Not clear right now, because we don't know if perhaps our side, Trump, is pushing for an unreasonable deal. But you would think that President Xi has plenty of reason to push for a deal. But so far, we don't have one.
Dan Joseph, good to see you, Dan. Thank you very much.